In the shadow of the Caucasus Mountains in Azerbaijan is a ghost town with a desolate past.
Nestling among green trees are hundreds of buildings, but they've been annihilated, with only their shells remaining.
It's an eerie sight. It looks like something out of a disaster movie. The roads and streets are deserted. There's no one to be seen anywhere. But there's this one building that survived.
The mosque gives a clue to the heritage of this place.
As does another unexpected find.
In the middle of all this rubble is a beautiful painted mural. Maybe it foreshadows some kind of revival of this shattered city.
What disaster struck this once bustling city and displaced over 500,000 civilians from this remote region? The disputed territory of Karabakh is difficult to access. Here, war correspondent Emin Ibrahimov knows only too well the dangers that come with his job.
In October 2020, I was covering the Karabakh war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Fortunately, I had a dash cam that was able to capture everything. One day, I got a chance to go to a village that was just recently liberated, and it was going to be an exclusive. I was supposed to be the first journalist to go there. So I took my car, and on the way, I saw a rocket just in front of me. Passed just above the car, and I felt an impact, a shockwave from the impact just behind me.
Emin was caught up in a war that has plagued this part of the world for decades.
So I really stepped on it, trying to go as fast as I can without losing control of the car. I found some cover, got out of the car, and it's probably only then that I realized that I just barely escaped death.
The border region of Karabakh has been the center of a dispute in a tug of war between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
In the last 3 decades alone, the conflict has taken tens of thousands of human lives, yet it's relatively unknown.
People didn't hear much about this conflict the way they do about conflicts in other regions. It happened in an area that most Westerners don't know much about, and between two groups of people who are often overlooked by history.
Whole cities were annihilated in 2 bloody wars in the early 1990s and 2020, and it has left a deadly legacy.
Today you can only travel on the main roads because of the danger of the mines. If you want to step off the main road, you actually have to have a team of deminers check the area before you do.
This region was once riddled with nearly 100,000 mines.
We are on the central square of the most popular place among city residents. Behind me used to be City Hall, and this building, or what is left of it, used to be a drama theater, which was built in the 50s. It was the cultural center of the region.
You wouldn't believe that this was once a thriving, bustling city with people living normal lives here.
Amid the rubble is a stark reminder of those who lived here.
The beautiful mural depicts 3 attributes of Azerbaijani culture. The woman is holding a tray with the symbols of Novruz holiday. A singer is holding a saz, an Azeri instrument. And a woman with a child is wearing a shawl called kelagai. All 3 are protected by UNESCO and are parts of the intangible heritage of the humanity.
This is the Azerbaijani city of Ağdam, once the cultural hub of the region.
Ağdam was a very modern, progressive city for this area. Any Westerner could have strolled through the streets and visited the cafes and felt right at home. And yet, all of that was swept away in a relatively short period of time.
Until 1991, Ağdam and the region known then as Nagorno-Karabakh had been under Soviet control for over 70 years.
During the Soviet era, Nagorno-Karabakh was a part of the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan. But 77% of the area's population were Armenians, and they naturally wanted the area to come under the control of the Soviet Republic of Armenia.
As it did in other republics that it controlled, the USSR was able to enforce a kind of peace in this sometimes fractious region.
But as the collapse of the Soviet Union looked imminent, tensions began to rise.
This is a common thing we see when a superpower controlling regional, nationalistic, ethnic groups in some kind of harmony, when that superpower recedes, all those tensions and conflicts and divisions can flare up again.
With guns at the ready, Ağdam was at the flashpoint between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
In 1993, Armenia was convinced that Azerbaijan was about to launch an offensive, and they quickly reacted.
Thousands of Armenian troops tore through Ağdam and shelled the city to smithereens. The skeleton Azerbaijani army had no chance against a force this big.
It was an incredibly bloody and heartbreaking affair for the residents.
40,000 of the city's population and 500,000 Azerbaijanis in the region were forced to leave their homes.
And it wasn't just the fighting taking civilian lives.
Not everyone got out safely. Some residents fled to nearby forests, and in the harsh winter, quite a few froze to death.
By 1994, Armenia had captured the region, including the city of Ağdam.
But amid the rubble of the annihilated city, there was one small glimmer of hope. In the Caucasus, the inaccessible ghost town of Ağdam has been pummeled by centuries of bitter dispute. Yet one building has survived the obliteration.
The only building that was still standing was an old mosque built in the 1870s. Armenians actually used it as an observation tower, a barn, and to correct the artillery fire.
The Armenians had controlled Ağdam since 1993. Although the city sat deserted for more than 25 years, neighboring Azerbaijanis kept it in their sights.
The Azerbaijan army wanted to retake terrain that had been lost in the 1990s conflict. And then in 2020, the conflict ignited again.
While the rest of the world was dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, Nagorno-Karabakh was dealing with another battle, a war that raged in the region for 44 days.
This time, the Azerbaijanis were armed with a new military device.
This is thought of as the first war in history in which drones played a critical role in its outcome.
This drone-led assault helped the Azerbaijanis score a decisive victory, and by November 2020, Ağdam was back in their hands. But for the city's residents, the struggle is not over.
The guns may have fallen silent, but it's still a traumatic time for civilians on both sides. For the Azerbaijanis, who can't return to their homes, and for the Armenians, who have once again had to be uprooted.
Ağdam remains derelict, but something surprising has survived the carnage, giving hope for its future.
There's hardly anything left of Ağdam, but one thing incredibly is still alive: the city's football team. They play in the Azerbaijan football leagues, but now based, of course, in the nation's capital, Baku.
The fact that they're still existing as a team associated with the city shows you that there's a hope that this city will come back to life.
There's a chance they'll be able to play in Ağdam again, as the government announced plans to turn the ghost town into a super modern metropolis.
The master plan of a new Ağdam has been approved in May 2021, and the renewed city will have a population of 100,000 people.